Welcome back, loyal fight fans, to Boxing. I appreciate you tuning in. We're going to double up on the picks episode and a mini show episode all in one, bundled up in one for your enjoyment and money-making purposes, or more recently, maybe money-losing purposes. As I watched that Terrence Crawford-Sean Porter fight, picking the over 10.5 rounds, I watched it go into the 10th round and the fight be stopped by Sean Porter's father, Kenny Porter, with 1:35. So we lost that by 5 seconds, and that is absolutely heartbreaking. But I appreciate you guys tuning in, as always. We're going to give you the picks right now. Let's give you the picks, then we'll get into the mini show. Picks for this upcoming week will be a 6-fight parlay, taking Gary Russell over Alexandro Santiago at -800, Teofimo Lopez over George Kambosas at -885, Stephen Fulton Jr., Cool Boy Steph over Brandon Figueroa at a steal at -315 for boxing odds, and Raymond Ford over Felix Caraballo at -1200. Rocky Fielding, famous for taking that brutal beating from Canelo Alvarez quickly. I expect him to come back and roll over Emmanuel Donzo at -2000, and Badu Jack over Samuel Cross at -4000. That's going to give you plus $92 to your $100. Seems like a safe bet. That's what we're personally going with this week. We'll try our luck again. And your fun one, as a dog to make money here, isn't a fight pick, but again, we're sticking with the over-unders and going Teofimo Lopez to beat George Kambosas in under 7.5 rounds, which again, this is why this is the fun one. That's not a sure thing, but I very much like him to do that at plus money for plus $130. Does seem like a great pick. So we'll get into a bit of a mini show here. Let's recap. First, Sean Porter, Terrence Crawford, great fight, epic fight. About halfway through 6 rounds in, I definitely had Porter up. For sure had Porter up there. And then the rounds after 6 get close. 7 and 8 are close. Some say 9 are close. I don't as much agree with that. I think 9 was a bit more towards Crawford. But 7 and 8, you could kind of lean either way. So just going into that 10th round fight was real close. Some people had Sean Porter up. Going into that 10th round, personally, I had Sean Porter down, but just by 1 round. Going into the 10th, then we would have had the 11th and the 12th in a very close fight, but it got poured on him. The pressure got poured on Sean Porter. Terrence Crawford, basically what he did was he figured out that he knew, obviously, as a great fighter as Terrence Crawford is, he obviously, and friends with Sean Porter, he obviously knew that Sean Porter was going to come out hard, come out fast, and be a pressure-style fighter, stay in his face the whole night, and throw hard shots. But Porter likes to throw kind of looping shots, and Terrence Crawford caught him in between the looping shots with linear punches. Not necessarily the jab, though he did get that going a little bit. It was the uppercut that sealed the deal. That's the first one that knocked down Sean Porter and knocked him on his ass. First time in his career that he's been knocked on his ass. We've seen his glove touch, which did happen in the Errol Spence fight that he had, which was Fight of the Year contender. That was about 2 years ago, I think now, and that was my Fight of the Year that year. But we've never seen Sean Porter get cleanly dropped. He definitely did here. He got right back up to his feet. He was angry at himself. He's talked afterwards on his own podcast and in interviews that it's the first time he's lost composure in a fight. He has been hurt before. He has been dropped technically before. But this was the first time he lost composure. He was a bit pissed at himself. So he went right back in and got dropped again. And that's when his dad, Kenny Porter, threw in the towel. Now, it seems like, hey, that would have been at least a 10-7 round if he even made it through the round, which I'm not sure that he would have. I can't necessarily call that a bad stoppage, especially against the Terrence Crawford, who is one of the best finishers in boxing. But it is controversial because, it's like nobody has beaten Sean Porter like that. That's for sure. That's credit to Terrence Crawford. No one's ever done it like that before. He dropped him twice when, like I said, all the other times, he's never been really dropped on his ass to his legs to the floor ever before in his career. So that's kudos to Terrence Crawford. That's to show how brilliant he is. Also, they told Terrence Crawford right before that 10th round, hey man, Porter might even be up. This is for sure a close fight. And somebody was saying Porter's up, and Crawford keeps going, he's up or I'm up. He's up, and went out and just did that. So, yeah, brutal stopping power. I can't argue the stoppage in that sense, but what I feel like is I don't like, viciously KO Sean Porter. No, Sean Porter, the fight was going bad for him. And to be honest with you, there's no way he comes back and win. It was a very close fight. But that round having happened, if you made it through, that's a 10-7 round. That kind of, at that point, Crawford's running away with the fight unless Porter's able to knock him out, which I never expected that to happen. I expected that maybe the way that Porter would win is like how he won kind of the Danny Garcia fight, where he's just so, he's the greatest bully fighter, I think, since Mike Tyson. Just that style of bullying your opponent and staying on him and being super aggressive, doggedly aggressive. And that's won him a lot of fights. I thought he lost that Ugas fight, but it was close either way. Not a robbery, but they gave that fight to him. The Danny Garcia fight, I did think he deserved to win, but some people, take issue with that as well. He gets those kind of victories when the fight goes all the way because he wins over the audience and the judges with that kind of fighting style. So I thought maybe that's what we would kind of get. But that wasn't the case. The fight wasn't going to go well for him. Although it's just to say, Terrence Crawford brutally KOs. Listen, he got back up. Even after the second knockdown, just right as soon as getting knocked down. The very moment, I'm just more pissed with himself and slamming his gloves to the floor. He's not, oh man, he's out of it, but he got back up to his feet. Not even debatable. I mean, he just got dropped because he really got caught off of balance because he's throwing these looping punches, and while leaning into trying to throw that overhand right, gets clipped with the uppercut, clipped with some hooks, and it stumbles him down. He immediately is like, God damn it, in frustration. So there is no argument to be had as to was he hurt or not. He was not hurt. He was not hurt by that. But the fight wasn't going to go well from him from there. So it's an iffy subject. But his dad threw in the towel. More so his dad really KOing him. Terrence Crawford won the fight. Kenny Porter KO'd his own son in the fight, basically throwing in the towel. Very weird to hear his interview after that. I never liked that relationship. I mean, I'm a huge Errol Spence guy. You guys know that. We'll touch on that. I think that, first off, I don't think that fight happens next. Again, everybody's talking about, they talk about it every time. If we're just being real for a second, no. I don't think that fight happens next, dude. They go to, the Errol Spence at this event, question about it. They relentlessly question Crawford, and he hates it. I don't want to talk about Errol Spence. They don't want to talk about each other. This thing's in a bind, and nothing has changed, unfortunately. That's the fight we wanted to see many fights before. Each of their fights. Many fights before. Many fights. It's the fight we've been wanting to see. This is boxing. Welcome to it. If you're a casual fan, the fight's not going to happen next. But hopefully one day it will. That's what we can hold on to, is that hopefully the fight will happen at all, right? Boxing holds on to people way too long. This is why we're never going to get Fury versus Joshua now, after Joshua taking that loss, which would have been just epic, blockbuster, biggest fight of all time, hands down, in England, in the UK, ever. And we're not going to get that because boxing holds on to things too long, keeps it in their pocket too long, and sometimes either guys will just straight up retire out of the business, or they will lose once, even just once, and then it's kind of scrapped that somebody's O has got to go kind of whole thing. But yeah, great fight though. But and kudos to Terrence Crawford. I don't think he beats Errol Spence. I don't. I'm gonna die on that hill. Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford, Bud Crawford. Great fight. And Bud could beat him, of course, because that's why we need to see the fight. But Errol's pretty big. Errol's just a very fundamentally sound boxer. Errol is the guy to do it. I also don't agree with the whole standing of Bud Crawford's career. Everybody's so quickly to accept. Well, I mean, people, for Christ's sake, people talking about, do we put him over Canelo? Hell no, you don't put him over Canelo Alvarez. You look at the resumes. Look at the resumes. This is ridiculous. You do not put him over fucking Canelo Alvarez. Absolutely not. And then I even take issue with the fact that it is a topic of discussion, but I even take issue with the fact that everybody's just readily, I mean, man, if we don't put him as the greatest boxer of all time ever, then at least he's the greatest welterweight. Errol Spence has something to say about that. Thank you very much. And Errol Spence's resume at welterweight is better than Terrence Crawford's resume at welterweight. Not debatable. Very debatable who's the better fighter. That's why we need to see the fight. Very debatable who wins. Not debatable whose resumes are better. And don't even put him in a conversation with Canelo. You do not put him over Canelo. That would, my God, that would piss me off. What a great sport that is also broken. But, yeah, we had that happen. We had Demetrius Andrade taking on Jason Quigley. Just polished him off quick. Now, you guys know, as being as Andrade, his last performance that did not look so great. And also many before, even when he did look great, he's not a big finisher. So I liked the fight going over 8.5 rounds, but it did not. It was stopped quickly in the second round. That's fair play to lose that. It definitely broke my heart watching me lose the over-under for the Crawford-Porter fight by 5 seconds. But the Demetrius Andrade fight, that's fair play. Did not see that coming, and credit to that guy. Now, he's definitely a bit of a weirdo. And that's why people don't want to fight him. He doesn't sell tickets. He's very weird. I saw him do a lot of interviews on DAZN, which I love DAZN, but they're doing interviews and having him on going, man, you're a great fighter. And he's like cursing at them and fucking making fun of the guys trying to help him out in the interview on DAZN and just, nobody wants to fight me. Well, you're a bit of a weirdo. That's just the way boxing works, man. Of course you're undefeated. Of course you're a great fighter. Of course you stand a chance in these fights. Not with Canelo. Canelo polishes you the fuck off. But in a fight versus Charlo, or in a fight versus Munguia or something like that, of course he stands a chance. Absolutely a credible boxer that could beat those guys, but they don't want to fight him either because of the risk reward. He is risky. He's a risky fight to take. He's a very unorthodox. He's a southpaw, and also then he doesn't sell tickets. What's the risk reward is always weighed in boxing, and so that's where that kind of thing falls apart, unfortunately. Now let's talk real quick as we run through this rapid fire unboxing episode before I go scoop my daughter up from daycare. We're going to run over the fights to come. Stephen, cool boy Steph, Fulton Jr. taking on Brandon Figueroa. So this will be a great fight. This is on Showtime. This is at 122 pounds. By the way, look at me. I'm doing this with no notes. Only for the odds I started off here. 122 pounds on Showtime this Saturday. Great fight to be had there. And I'm going to definitely take... cool boy Stephen Fulton Jr. I think is not only just like, to win this fight, I think he's one of the next big talents. The next big talents to kind of take over boxing. If I could offer anything, maybe give me credit, you guys watching this, when cool boy Steph becomes a bit more known. He has a belt already. I forget if it's the WBO or the WBA, but he's fighting a guy with the other one of those, whichever one it's not, and the WBC in Brandon Figueroa. Figueroa is very tall and lanky for that weight class, and it doesn't matter. That's why the styles make fights. And this is when it helps to know a bit about the boxers. I mean, I've told you guys time and again, sometimes you pick real heavy favorites in the thousands to add on to picks to kind of build your parlay a bit. But this is truly one where if you know the guy, you look at the resume, and you think, wow, that's great. I mean, undefeated, he had one draw. I forget who that was against, but it wasn't a great showing of himself in that fight. But other than that, he's coming off of a win over Luis Nery, who we're big fans of on this show. At 122 pounds, I was kind of a Luis Nery guy. Stephen Fulton Jr. is my other guy that I like a lot. Now he's fighting him. Now, Luis Nery, though, he came off of, before getting defeated by Figueroa, he came off of a not-so-impressive performance performance himself. Then he did get a vicious body shot finished him off. Those liver shots are no joke. It doesn't matter how tough you are. That's why I am the body snatcher, because I love, the liver shots. You watch a guy's just nothing but sheer will, a warrior, someone with the mentality of my coaches or somebody will save me or I will die in there. If we turn this fight into a street fight, we're fighting to the death in there. And see somebody like that not get their lights knocked out, and nobody can help that, but get hit with a shot that nobody can help. Unless you're the famous Arturo Gatti in the Mickey Ward Classic, you can't help just getting dropped by that liver shot and not really being able to get back up, man. It was a delayed reaction in that Luis Nery-Figueroa fight when he hit him to the body, and that just shuts your body off. And it sucks because your mind is still very much there and telling you, get through this. What's wrong with you? Be tougher. Your body says no. My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yeah, kind of thing. And, it's just a hard shot to get hit with. So he defeats Luis Nery. Great performance. But if you look at that performance, he's losing the fight to Luis Nery before hitting him with that shot. Luis Nery's winning that fight before that, and then he gets hit with the shot. Fair play. He gets hit to the great liver shot that ends the night. Figueroa being so tall, he's so tall and so lanky, and it doesn't matter because he doesn't use it. He doesn't fight tall. He doesn't use his reach. He doesn't use his height at all. He actually is a tall, lanky guy who's way taller, way lankier than any opponent at 122 pounds. And he'll never and has never fought tall with them. That's what he would have to do to win this fight, is to start fighting tall instead of being a brawler on the inside. He's made for a short, stocky body, and he's the complete polar opposite. He makes it work because he's tough. He lets his hands go fast. You know who's faster than him, hands down? Cool boy Steph. Stephen Fulton Jr., way faster hands, gonna find that chin quicker. He's gonna be able to, like Crawford found out against Porter, he's going to be able to time those shots. He's going to be, because he's faster, he's going to be able to get his hands there first to intercept any looping shots going to the body sort of thing. Cool boy Steph can fight on the outside, fight on the inside. Normally, you wouldn't want to fight on the outside with a guy who has so much reach, but Figueroa doesn't use it. And cool boy Steph is very slick, incredible footwork, incredible head movement on the inside. He'll dip his head real low, Tyson, him all the way underneath his torso so you can't hit the back of his head, and he'll sit down there and then come up with some vicious uppercuts, shots to the body. He'll sit on inside with you for a while, and he'll win those exchanges. And even, of course, if he's losing an exchange, kind of sitting there for a bit, he'll back up. Even if he's winning, he'll just back up then again for just a bit, just to throw you off, always changing the game plan up. And I like cool boy Steph to win this fight handedly. Yeah, good fights. And then we have Teofimo Lopez taking on George Kambosas. I expect him to dispatch George Kambosas, to be honest. We've waited. This fight has been rescheduled 9 different times. It seemed like it would never happen. But that's because they were trying to put it on Triller. It has moved to DAZN, which is a real boxing platform, thank God. And now we're going to get to see the fight. But both these guys been off forever. I mean, Teofimo Lopez, unified those belts in beating Vasily Lomachenko in that great performance, and then has not fought since because this fight's been delayed so many goddamn times. So this fight finally happened. I expect him to get it out of there quick. We touched on the odds earlier. I really like that. Now, I told you guys I'm not saying that's a safe pick, but that is the fun pick. If you want a plus money pick of any sport, that I'm aware of, and for this weekend, that's the one you want. You want him. The over/under is for 7.5 rounds. That's a long time for George Kambosas with a come forward kind of style like he has. He's going to try to pressure Teofimo Lopez, who will just fucking probably box his ears off from the outside. Then he'll sit there while he's coming in and catch him with shots coming in and sit down on those punches. And I expect multiple knockdowns until the knockout, or even a vicious KO, because Kambosas has heart. He's going to go for it. But yeah, he's not dancing around. He's not in there to last. He knows his only chance is to make it a dog fight and not a boxing match. So I expect Teofimo Lopez to get him out of there very quickly. And for 7.5 rounds, picking the under is crazy. You would think, now they're close odds, but you would think that the over 7.5 rounds really would be the favorite for the over under. But it's not. You get plus $130 for it to stay under 7.5 rounds. I like that. We're gonna go with that. Just some short money on that. We spend a bit more on the safe ones because usually they're safe. And boxing's a heartbreaker of a sport, and yeah. It's hard. So we've taken a couple losses, but we're doing 6, 7 to 9 fight parlays here and winning every one but one. So yeah, it is what it is. It'll get back, and this is kind of why you play the game. And if you lose too much, you just stop for a while. You only do it when you have some extra money to throw in to have fun with. And me personally, I put that aside for a week, which ain't much, But until next time, loyal fight fans, enjoy the fights. I hope that we win this time, for God's sakes. And we'll see you next time. We'll catch you next time. And happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays to all you heathenous fight fans out there.